Hello and welcome back to another video. This is the 5th episode of story in which before his death, Minato had created a tool that was meant to succeed the Hiraishin. But now that he's passed it on to his kid, what will Naruto do with the power to control time and space? Please smash the like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. Minato then narrowed his eyes at him as he slowly began to speak. Are you Naruto? The blonde Jinchuriki and the Hyuga heiress almost felt like jumping out of their skin at what the elder blonde man had just stated. How do you know my name? The yondaime gave a light laugh to this. A very strange question to be asking me, kiddo, as he petted the blonde over the head, to which Naruto responded by swatting his hand away. But what are you doing with my watch? Your watch? Then questioned Naruto, now confused. How can this be your watch? Minato gave the blonde Jinchuriki a strange look. Of course it's my watch, but then, as he rubbed his chin in contemplation. Why are you here? But more importantly, how can you be here? All the while Hinata was carefully listening as she was struck frozen at what she was hearing as the dots were slowly being connected in her head. Naruto-kun's name. Yondaime-sama's watch. The strange confusion. I can't tell you how I can be here, that's too complicated to explain. But that's when Naruto remembered something extremely crucial that he had to get off his chest concerning the very first day he learned it. Of course, if he really thought about it, the man in front of him now wouldn't know the answer to this. But nonetheless, he was too angry now to be thinking straight concerning his question. Naruto? Are you feeling okay? But quickly jumping the gun, Naruto punched Minato right on the cheek, which caused the yondaime to fall flat on his back. Minato then sat up holding his cheek as he looked curiously to the blonde. Why did you do that for, kiddo? Naruto squeezed his fists in anger, now grinding his teeth as he felt like he was going to explode at any moment if he didn't let this out. Why? He demanded furiously. Why did you put the Kyuubi in me? You know how much I suffered because of that. The yondaime looked on with wide eyes to what the blonde had just said. Then quickly getting back on one knee, he grabbed Naruto's shoulder as he looked into his eyes. What did you just say? As he then became dumbfounded at this, he felt a poke at his arm. Naruto-kun. Not now, Hinata-chan. Naruto-kun, as Hinata poked his arm again. Just hold on a moment. Naruto-kun, as the pale girl then aggressively pulled at this sleeve. What? As the blonde then looked to his friend, what is it? Naruto-kun. The yondaime-sama. I think. What? What are you trying to tell me? As Hinata looked between them, she then looked back to Naruto as she slowly said what was on her mind. I think your father, as she now looked at the elder blonde, is the yondaime-sama. What? That's crazy. The yondaime can't be my dad. That would be, as it slowly started to come to him. With everything that was exchanged between them, the light bulb in his head started to become brighter and brighter as the pieces started to come together. Now looking at Minato with his serious face on, in addition that he wasn't refusing the fact, only confirmed what his pale friend had said. It can't be, as he now became stunned silent to this revelation. I think we need to have a talk. So guiding the children to his living room and having them take a seat, he hastily prepared some drinks for them as he took his seat across from them. Then after giving a bit of a sigh, Minato was ready to get into this as he took the watch from Naruto and placed it on the table. I have a few things that I need to know. Hold on, then shot Naruto, I have a few things I want to ask myself. Naruto-kun, manners, Hinata then said. Minato closed his eyes in contemplation before opening them again. Then we'll do it this way. I'll ask a question, then you go, and we'll continue as such until we have no more questions to ask. Then clearing his mind and carefully choosing what he wanted to ask, he decided to let his son go first, waving his hand to this. Then listing his priorities, Naruto picked the very first question he wanted to ask. Are you Are you really my dad? Minato's facial expressions distorted a bit, showing uncertainty. But then, looking back to Naruto, I would think so, to which the children looked to him in confusion for him to further explain. For the thing is, your mother is still pregnant with you, as the only thing we know is that it's a boy. However, after looking at you with your eyes, hair color, and the fact you had my watch, there was no doubt in my mind that you were my son. Although I wasn't entirely certain of your name, it was something your mother and I were still discussing. Now, as he focused on Naruto, how can you be here? What do you mean? Naruto then asked. I used your watch to get here. Isn't that obvious? We didn't mean to come here on purpose, then said Hinata. We actually meant to go somewhere else to prevent a tragedy from occurring. Minato looked to them as he then had to hold his face at the complication that had just presented itself to him now. One problem at a time, then clarifying what he wanted to ask. The reason I ask is because just today I was planning on destroying this infernal machine, meaning you couldn't possibly be here. But since you're here, something must have happened between now and then. The blonde Jinchuriki then looked confused at this. Then how can we be here? And why would you destroy such an amazing creation as this watch? That was two questions, but the answer applies to both. Then, taking a moment to look at the watch, he closed his eyes to think about how he should word this. How to explain this all, but now looking back to the children, Naruto. For my time travel method to work, the watch was designed to be synchronized with the flow of time around us, making it exist at every point in time even before it was created. So this allows the watch its many functions of manipulating time and space, and due to this synchronization and activation, it's most likely that our time streams crossed with each other at some instantaneous moment by accident, which ended up getting you two sent here by mistake. But now, as Minato recalled his experiences with the metal contraption, this machine is only but a curse. Something I should have never built, as it was never able to accomplish the ultimate goal I had for it. What's that supposed to mean? Now Naruto, as Minato waved his finger at this, it's my turn to ask a question now. For what purpose did you have for coming back in time? Hinata then decided to answer this one. 7 years ago by our present, my uncle was killed due to an incident with the Hidden Cloud Village, and because of that, as she thought to Niji, many bad things in my family happened. So we wanted to come back to prevent my kidnapping, which started this event. I see, then said Minato. But what you're doing is a fool's errand, as you cannot save him. Naruto immediately got angry at this. How can you say that? We haven't even got the chance to try yet. Then you still don't understand why it cannot be done. At hearing that, Naruto couldn't believe how coldly his father put it. This was a person's life they were talking about, as he seemed to have swept it aside like it was nothing. The Yondaime was supposed to be the yellow flash of Konoha, the man who could make the impossible possible. But yet here he was telling him that something couldn't be done. He then snatched the watch from the table. If that's all you're going to say, then I'll fix this myself. I'll show you it can be done. Minato gave a sigh to this. Hinata-san, right? As the pale girl gave a nod to this. Please wait here, I'm going to accompany my kid on his trip. So you are going to help Naruto-kun? The Yondaime paused at this as he looked to her. Yes. So if you may, Hinata-san, please wait here. Naruto and I will be back in no time. So leaving for a moment, he came back with his Jonin vest and ninja pack as he stood next to his son, placing his hand on his shoulder. I'll charge the watch with my chakra. You just input where we need to go and I'll explain the rest on the way. Naruto immediately lightened up at this. Thanks. Dad, for helping me with this. Minato remained silent at this. In the matter of seconds, the two blondes disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the Hyuga heiress alone. Of course she wanted to go as well. But with how the Yondaime was behaving, he must have had a good reason for everything he said and done, to which she had to have faith in. So taking a seat, she twiddled with her fingers as she waited for their return. Naruto-kun. Konoha, Hyuga's estate, 7 years later. Upon materializing into the house, both blondes used a henge to disguise themselves to look like Hyugas. Then looking around, Minato took Naruto to the most private area he could find, which would normally be the meeting room. Even if 7 years had gone by, the relative layout should be the same. So when are we exactly? This is the Hyuga's estate exactly 1 hour before Hinata-chan was kidnapped. I see, the yondaime then said. Now if you're going to be so adamant about your resolve, then let me explain a few things to you. The ultimate purpose of the watch was to fix the mistakes of the past, as each of its functions were made for that purpose. So this watch really wasn't made to be a weapon, right? Minato nodded his head at this. Yes, Naruto, this tool was made to save people. Now keep in mind you only have one try to get this right. What? Why? Because if you made a mistake and tried to go back again, you would end up bumping into the past you, which would begin a long series of headaches, so that's why I created the time loop function. You mean rewind? Minato looked weirdly at this. Right. Now with this function you can create an isolated pocket within space-time, which will allow you to try as many times as you need without creating a paradox amongst yourself if a mistake were to occur. What? Then asked Naruto, as he didn't know what the word meant. Naruto. You really went into this without thinking it through. It's a contradiction to the logic of the universe, which is an event by all intents and purposes that's not supposed to happen. Now taking a breath to further his explanation, the watch was also designed to perceive the world in 2 ways to help assist its user. The first was to perceive the choices of the user to help guide our decision, while the second was designed to perceive the probability of the choices others would make. He must mean time echo and time stop, so wait, all those times I've used it I wasn't stopping time. Minato gave a choked laugh at that. Naruto, if time stopped even for a second, that would mean the end of the universe. So in that case, what you were seeing was advanced probability. In it, you were dislocated from time to which the people it concerned had already made their choice, and all you had to do was fill in the gaps of how you wanted to respond to them. So think of it like the Sharingan but times 10". Minato then looked at the clock. It's about time to start. So begin by setting up a loop bubble. Naruto gave a confident smirk at this. Fine, but I don't really see why I have to. I'll fix this all in one try. Then after inputting the sequence with everything put into place, Naruto soon ran off to do what needed to be done. Minato paused for a moment before following right after his son. Now on the rooftop both blondes watched the scene unfold as a masked man easily bypassed the gate watchers as he quickly ran in. Then a moment later, out from one of the side windows, the man emerged with a young Hinata in hand as he attempted his escape. Right on time, Naruto's younger self appeared as he was examining the guards. Deciding now was the time to strike, Naruto used his fast-forward skill as he was instantly in front of the perpetrator. Giving him no time to react, he gave the hidden cloud kidnapper a swift uppercut to the jaw which knocked the man out. Just as that happened, Minato appeared below to take Hinata back as he slowly placed her to the ground below. Hey! Who's there? Yelled out young Naruto. At seeing his approach, both blondes then disappeared just as the boy approached the scene, and with that their mission was accomplished. See, what did I tell you? Said Naruto proudly as he and Minato were watching the scene unfold from quite some distance away. I only needed one try to get this right. The yondaime could only shake his head softly to this. Keep watching Naruto. You'll understand soon why you cannot save him. Konoha, Namikaze's residence. 7 years prior, Hinata was feeling quite unsettled as she was waiting on the couch as she continued to twiddle her fingers. It's only been 5 minutes, but I can't help but worry, she then said sadly as she started to poke her index fingers against each other now in nervous habit. Then right before her, space began to contort as a bright flash of light appeared, Naruto-kun. But before she could say any more, Naruto's very aura felt weaker as just looking at him showed defeat in his eyes. Naruto-kun. She then looked to the elder blonde. What going on? What's wrong with him? as her tone now reflected deep concern. Minato could only look saddened at this as he helped Naruto to his seat as Hinata took her seat next to him, trying to comfort whatever was bothering him. Then soon enough the elder blonde removed his vest and equipment, putting them away as he retook his seat across from the children. Naruto-kun, what's wrong? What happened to you? What happened with my uncle? As Hinata tried to look to his face for answers. But as Naruto looked up, it reflected absolute shock as his eyes were wide like saucers. I couldn't do it. I don't understand. I'm so sorry, Hinata-chan, as the blonde Jinchuriki eyes began to water. I couldn't save him. No matter what I did. No matter what choice I altered. I couldn't change what happened. What? As Hinata then looked to Minato for answers, Yandeme-sama, I don't understand. What is he talking about? What happened? Just as I said. Minato's tone reflected sadly. I just don't get it, said Naruto in frustration. I stopped the kidnapping, I reinforced the Hyuga guards, I sabotaged the Kumonins from coming to Konoha, and I even went as far as kidnapping Hinata-chan before they could get to her. But as he now looked to his dad, no matter what I did. Hisashi still dies every time at the exact same time, no matter what changes were made. I'm so sorry, kiddo, as Minato then decided it was now time to speak up. If you were like me, you wouldn't have listened either until you tried to avert the event. But ultimately in the end, you cannot change the past because they are fixed points in our history. Fixed points. What does that even mean? Minato looked down, sighing before looking back up. Simply. It's part of the rules of causality, as he then stood up. Then forming a few seals, a blackboard appeared as he took a piece of chalk, drawing an A, B, and C while drawing a circle connecting the three letters together. So first pointing at the letter A, within a circle of events Hisashi-san dies. Then pointing at the letter B, now comes the aftershock of the events which affected the Hyuga clan. Finally pointing at the letter C, then comes your attempt to try and change the past, which then completes this circle of events, thus creating the paradox. So then retaking his seat, point A is your fixed point. The very event you cannot change, as the very foundation of events would then fall apart, nullifying what you're trying to do, thus making any endeavor pointless. Yandeme-sama, then said Hinata. You can call me Minato if you wish. Calling me the Yandeme constantly must be rather tiring. Hinata gave a nervous choke at this. Minato-sama, how do you know so much about all this? With that question the Yandeme looked down, saddened at this as he retook his seat. Because like you, I too tried to avert a tragedy, which then got the children's full and undivided attention. It was for this expressed purpose I created the watch, to save everyone. What did you try to change? Hinata then asked hesitantly. The so many deaths of good people from our village. And many others that had occurred due to war, but to start at the very beginning of these series of tragedies I wanted to save Uzumaki, the village of your mother. My mom, then said Naruto. Minato gave a nod to this. I studied for days from history of every possible attack I could strategize to ensure the village would not fall. I planned every last detail up to the point of escape to save everyone. But even after 100 tries in 100 different scenarios, I learned that I could not cheat causality, as the death of those people and the destruction of Uzumaki were fixed points in time. Things that cannot be changed. It tortured me each time I failed. But eventually I had to stop, as my interference began to rupture the very fabric reality. However, in doing so, I came to understand one very simple thing in life. And what was that? That the best we can do is honor the ones that have left, and to keep all our current loved ones safe and warm by valuing them for all they are, is simply giving a slight pause. There is no time like the present, the Yandeme then said as he warmly smiled to the children. The blonde Jinchuriki gave a sheepish smile at this as he turned towards Hinata as she did the same. But I guess I won't have that opportunity in the end, will I? Dad, as Naruto gave him a questioning look. Minato-sama, as Hinata did the same. "Don't give me that look," then said Minato calmly. "Your presence here and your inability to recognize me as your father told me enough," as he then closed his eyes in thought before reopening them. "Sometime sooner or later. I'm going to die, and if my guess is right, your mother Kushina will die also." Both children could only remain silent to this, confirming the elder blonde's assumption. Then thinking over about what Naruto had told him earlier in their discussion, "So if my guess is right, it must have something to do with the Kyuubi that's inside of you now. So I ask, what happened to make you a Jinchuriki? What can that possibly change?" then asked Naruto. "You said the past couldn't be altered." "Well, it's complicated to explain." "Then simplify it." "Very complicated." Naruto then started to get a bit peeved at how his father was treating him now. "Try me." Minato scratched his head to this as he thought about how to explain something that even a child could understand. "Naruto, time is not simply a linear progression from cause to effect. But actually it's more like a big ball," as he motioned with his hands, "of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff." Even to himself that sounded weird. But then looking to the children, they still looked a bit confused to his half-baked explanation. "Let's just say there might be something I can still do about our future." "But then what can be done?" "We don't even know why the Kyuubi attacked Konoha," said Hinata. "Because that's the strange thing," then said Minato. "Because at this time the Kyuubi should be. Minakuin, I'm home. The doctors gave me and the baby a clean bill of health." "Did you already make dinner?" "That's your mother," Minato silently exclaimed. In that instant everyone in the living room almost choked on the air they were breathing for their own reason. Hinata because of the sudden entrance of the mother of her best friend, Naruto because the mom he has never met was now only 10 feet away from him, and Minato because this would all be very complicated to explain to his wife. "You two, hide," the elder blonde then commanded. "Why?" Naruto hissed. "That's my mom in the next room." "Because your mother doesn't know about the watch and its ability to time travel. If you're here, I'm not sure your mother would be able to handle the shock of all this information." "No way. I want to see mom." "Naruto-kun, maybe it's best that we listen to Minato-sama and go hide for now." "But it's my mom Hinata-chan, I might miss my only opportunity to meet her." Just as Minato was about to say something more, it was too late. "Minakuin, I hear voices. Do you have people over?" It was then that Kushina walked into the room. As the group looked to her, she had waist-long red hair, grayish-blue eyes, and wore an orange shirt with a black overdress. As the redhead looked about, her face glowed with awe. "Are these fans of your Minakuin? And such cute little children too." As she walked up to them, she then got on one knee as she smiled to Hinata first. "What a cutie pie of a Hyuga," as she pinched her cheeks, stretching them, to which the pale girl showed visible signs of discomfort too. "She's so cute, Minakuin, a Hyuga girl that actually smiles for once." "Kushina-san," Hinata barely managed to murmur out, to which the redhead soon let go as the Hyuga heiress then rubbed her cheeks in soreness. "You know, you look awfully a lot like Hayashi's wife when she was young. Man, I still wonder why she got with that guy." But then looking to the next child over, "And look at this cutie," as she smiled broadly at Naruto. But then looking into his eyes, she suddenly came to a halt as she now stood up to look at Minato. "Minakuin, it's very strange. This boy here looks a lot like you." Kushina-chan, about that. But now taking a closer look, the resemblance is rather uncanny, isn't it?" as she now pointed between the two blondes. As she continued to point between them, her eyes started to become wider each time until they were like saucers. Now looking back to her husband, a very heavy aura began to emit from her, which started to make the room occupants feel a bit edgy. Minakuin. To Naruto and Hinata eyes, they never thought such a reaction was possible. But here before them now the legendary ninja himself looked scared for his life as he seemed to be cowering back. Yes, Kushina-chan." Minato half stuttered. Who is this boy exactly? Then asked Kushina as the redhead pointed to Naruto. Ah. That's a bit complicated to explain. At hearing this Kushina started to get teary-eyed as she cupped her face. It's as I thought, she cried out. You had a love child, didn't you? Even though you had me as your wife. Kushina-chan. That's not even possible, as he waved his hands innocently to this. He's like 14 years old. But at that statement Kushina began to cry louder. You're so horrible, Minakuan. You even said I was your first. I even gave you my first. Everyone then didn't entirely know what to do, but that's when the atmosphere around them got cold. Really cold. As they looked to the redhead they could have sworn that her hair was sticking up as she was glaring a demonic-like eye at them. Then suddenly several spiked chains made of chakra began to appear as they covered the floor, wall, and ceiling as they now seemed to be aiming at the yondaime. Oh no, then thought Minato. The red hot-blooded habanero in back. But then after an unnatural amount of silence that passed, Minakuan. I'm going to kill you. Whoa, wait, Kushina-chan. It's not what you think, as Minato looked like he was about to duck and cover. Wait. Mom. Naruto then exclaimed as he hugged Kushina around the waist to stop her. Don't kill Dad. Then suddenly all the chains disappeared as she looked a lot more calmer now as she then looked dumbfounded at the blonde child currently now attached to her. She then looked to her husband as she pointed to the blonde boy. Minakuan, why did this boy here just now call me his mother? Minato gave a deep sigh to this. Well, Kushina-chan. This boy here is Naruto and this girl over here is Hinata-san. They are both from the future. And Naruto is. Well, as he rubbed the back of his head deciding to be blunt about it, he's our son. As the redhead attempted to understand all that her husband had just told her, there was only one thing she could say. Huh. This is going to take a while to explain, to which he turned to Naruto and Hinata whispering to them. Just follow my lead, okay, to which after a long and heated lecture Minato said all that could be said with specific edits to his explanation. Kushina gave a nervous chuckle as she was now rubbing the back of her head. I'm sorry you kids had to see that. Even though I'm only 3 months in, hormones can make any girl crazy. But now looking directly at Naruto and Hinata, so you two are from the future, huh? Then focusing more to the young blonde, and your name is Naruto, right? Minakuan and I were still discussing names for you when we found out you were a boy not too long ago. But I didn't think we would actually choose the name from Jiraiya-sama's story. As the blonde Jinchuriki looked wide-eyed at this. You got my name from Ero-sanin. Well, it could have been worse. That's so cute, then squealed Kushina as she hugged her son. Did I tell you to call him that or did you come up with it on your own? As Naruto began to fade off. Yeah. I came up with it. In his father's explanation, he only explained the bare minimum to his mother about his watch and its abilities. However, from how his dad put it, he specifically left out what he tried to do, how their future turned out, and why he and Hinata came back in the first place. But I can understand now, as he thought carefully about it. I wouldn't want Mom to worry about it either. So you're Hinata-chan, right? As the redhead now turned to her, and you're Hayashi's kid. I didn't think a grouch like that would produce such a sweet kid like you. Hinata could only give a nervous chuckle as she didn't really know how to respond to that. So, as Kushina started to give off a mischievous cat-like smirk. Are you like my little Naruto-chan's girlfriend or something? At that statement the duo could only gape as they both turned red in embarrassment. Nah. Naruto-kun's girlfriend. Mom, the young blonde then exclaimed. We're just friends. Sorry, Kushina waved while laughing a bit. I just had to say it. So tell me about what I'm like 14 years from now. I don't have any gray hairs yet, right? Did I ever get around to giving Ero-sanin the ultimate prank? I wonder how all my friends now look 14 years from now. Kushina-chan, you shouldn't be asking those questions, said Minato calmly. Right, I wouldn't want to spoil the secret either. It's just so exciting and tempting to know how your future is going to turn out. But then looking up at the clock she stood up, I'll go get some snacks. There is just so much for us to talk about. Just as she left, Minato then turned back to Naruto. May I ask for your watch? Sure, as Naruto handed over his watch. But why? As the elder blonde held the watch in his hands he started to stare intensely at it. But then a moment later smoke started to emanate from the device which immediately alarmed the children. What are you doing? Naruto then exclaimed as he took back the watch only for it to sound like a dying cat as more smoke started to pour out of it. You burnt out the watch, as he looked at it shocked. Why did you do that, as he turned to him? Minato-sama? Hinata then asked curiously as she looked to the yondaime to explain. As I told you before, time travel should never be done and it's too dangerous to keep around due to the people who might try to misuse it. This watch and its many abilities is too much power for one person to ever have. But you said people can't fix the past. But that doesn't change people from trying to learn from the future. Can you imagine what could happen if this secret were to get out? In the worst-case scenario it could erupt into a war on a scale no living being could possibly even imagine. This event could very well burn the world in a way that it could never heal from. Can you honestly say that the secrets of the watch will never get out, Naruto? As Minato then gave his son a serious look. At that stare all the young blonde could do was look away. A self-fulfilling prophecy paradox prevents me now from destroying the watch on my end. So that just leaves me to do something about the watch in your time. Now looking at the fried device, the watch is still functional enough to return you to home, but afterwards it will become completely useless, to which I kindly ask of you, Naruto, to not try and repair it. This is my only request to you as your father. But there are so many things I haven't asked you yet. So many things I don't understand. Am I not going to be able to see you or Mom again? And why did you ask all those questions if nothing was going to change in the end? What was the point to all of it then? I already have enough to proceed for now. But there is something. You don't understand, Naruto. Time can be. I'm back, then, said Kushina with snacks in hand. So what should we talk about first, as she placed the platter down? Oh, Kushina-chan, Naruto and Hinata-san needs to get back to their own time now. So it's about time we said farewell to them. But this is just so sudden. Can't they come back to visit? I'm afraid not, the elder blonde then said. It's not appropriate for people to be visiting other time zones, as it will cause time itself to become distorted with irregularities. I see. Kushina then said sadly. She then looked to Naruto as she warmly smiled to him. I guess I won't be able to see you again for some time now, huh? But then again, I guess our actual first meeting will be a few months from now, as she then gave her son a hug. I'll be happy to welcome you into the world then. Mom. The redhead then looked to Hinata. Watch over my Naruto closely, alright? He's definitely going to grow up to be a troublemaker like me if I know my own son, to which I'm going to need the extra help. Yes, Kushina-san, the pale girl nodded. Then backing off, Kushina stood next to her husband. Goodbye then, I'll see you all again in 14 years. Goodbye. Mom, said Naruto. Then typing in the sequence while charging the watch, he then took Hinata's hand. As the jutsu started to take effect, their form began to distort, to which in a grand flash of light they were gone. Konoha, Plaza area, 14 years later. Upon arrival, Naruto looked completely downcast as his eyes became shadowed, to which Hinata completely understood why. I won't be able to see them again. Naruto-kun, as she then held his hand tighter. Mina-kun, how did we end up here? Huh? Said the duo as they immediately turned around to see a confused-looking Kushina with a bashful-looking Minato. Of course the blonde Jinchuriki was ecstatic at having his parents there, which meant more time with them, but equally dumbfounded to how they could be standing there next to him now. I did not think this was possible. So wait, are we like in the future? That's so cool. But wait, how can we be here then? I thought we needed to be touching Naruto or the watch. Oh no, as Minato then held his face, it must have been due to chakra resonation. Chakra resonation, as everyone then looked to him to explain. Due to the power of the watch and how devastating it would be if it got into the wrong hands, I built a safety precaution into the design, making it so that it would only recognize my chakra and my chakra alone. But chakra-like genetics can be a hereditary thing between parent and child. So when Naruto charged the watch, his chakra resonation was close enough to a match between me and Kushina-chan, which spoofed the watch into making us jump with it. So how are you going to get back? Then questioned Hinata. You broke the watch. You broke the watch. Kushina then questioned as she looked to her husband with an accusing eye. Why would you do that? Minato could only give a strained chuckle at this. That's a very complicated story, but if my study is still intact I should be able to get it up and running again to return us home. So if that's the case then no one will mind if I take a look around, Kushina then chimed as she began looking about. Don't, as the elder blonde grabbed her hand. We're not supposed to be here, remember? We shouldn't be poking around in a future we know nothing about. Kushina then gave a pouty face to this. Don't be such a party pooper, Minakuan. It's not like I'll get into trouble or anything. If it bothers you that much I'll be in henge. As she placed her hand to her chin, I wonder if I'll see my older self in this time. Or perhaps she knows I'm already here. Or maybe she left so we wouldn't meet. She then shook her head to how complicated it was as she then looked to the children. So is there anything interesting going on at the moment? Well, the Chunin final exam is going on right now, said Hinata shyly. Naruto-kun had just won his first match and it's currently about to enter the next round. Ah, I missed Naruto's match. But don't worry, I'll definitely be here to watch you win this tournament, as she petted Naruto over the head. I'm also in this tournament, Hinata then added in meekly. Well, isn't that interesting, as she looked to Hinata with a cat-like smirk. You better give my Naruto a good beating, Hinata-chan, or else he's never going to learn who the boss is. Alright, as she gave her a wink to which everyone including Minato gave a strained laugh too. So it's the Chunin finals now, huh? Ah, that takes me back, she gleed. Come on, let's go see it. Wait, Kushina-chan. Don't forget your henge, as Minato chased after her in his henge, to which the children followed right after them. As they arrived closer to the grand area, the elder blonde could only give a sigh to this. I might as well see what's going on then. It would be nice to see how much the village changed after 14 years. As they arrived to the entrance, Naruto and Hinata easily got in since they were participants. But as for Minato and Kushina, they were henged as an old couple, to which the Konoha guards saw no threat to thus allowing them to enter as well. For Kushina, she was just too ecstatic about being in the future. Plus the fact it was at the Chunin finals where her kid and his friend were participating in. But after marveling at all the sights and sounds, the red-headed woman started to calm down a bit. Did you see that, Minakuan? They actually put your face on the Hokage mountain, isn't that cool? Yeah, Minato chuckled. I can see now where Naruto-kun gets his stamina from, thought Hinata with intrigue. But then suddenly Kushina came to a stop as she fell silent. Mo. Ma'am, is there something wrong? Asked Naruto. She then looked ahead as she saw the Sand sibling standing only but a few meters away. But more specifically, she was looking at the red-haired boy standing in the middle. She then turned back facing the group, those three ninjas from the hidden Sand village. Are they participants too? Hinata and Naruto slightly stalled at the question as they looked to the Sand siblings. Looking to Gaara, the pair knew who he was, or rather what he was, but they were uncertain if they should share this information. But Naruto, seeing his mom still waiting, he gave her an answer, yes. They are participating in the Chunin finals as well. That boy in the middle. He's a Jinchuriki, isn't he? Upon that remark Naruto, Hinata, and Minato almost jumped at this for their own reasons. How did Mom know he was a Jinchuriki? Naruto puzzled. But seeing that he was still selling a facade to her, he couldn't ask her how she knew that. Is he? Yes, Hinata then slowly said. Is there a problem with that? Kushina blinked at this before she let out a chuckle. No, there is no problem with it. I was just curious if he was or not. Then looking around she waved to the pair. Why don't you two run along now and go to your other friends? There are just so many things I want to see and I'm pretty sure you don't want to follow your mom around all day. But Mom. Don't worry dear, she warmly smiled to the young blonde. Your father is with me. So just run along with Hinata-chan, okay? The blonde Jinchuriki slowly nodded to this as he took Hinata's hand to leave. I hope we can talk again soon, the Hyuga heiress politely bowed just before they left. With them leaving, Kushina then turned to face Minato as they were both thinking the same thing. Minakuin. The elder blonde could only give a nod to this. I might just be paranoid during these peaceful times. But I would at least want to be prepared. Both Kushina and Minato knew that none of the villages would ever send a Jinchuriki like this to another village under any circumstance. Even amongst allies, they were too valuable as they contributed to the village's military strength. I know that, look, Minakuin. But there's no way they are going to use this tournament as some kind of ploy to stage an invasion. These are peaceful times. What could they possibly gain by attacking Konoha if they still are our allies? I want to believe that too, Kushina-chan. But I would feel better if I at least gathered some information around the village, as he looked around. Judging from Naruto's and Hinata-san's reaction, the fact that the Sans Jinchuriki is here is not known to Konoha security forces simply by looking at how few guards there are, and that I do find troubling. Then reaching into his pocket revealing the watch he took back from Naruto, my special kunai's would have either been destroyed or archived by now. I might need this watch working sooner than I thought. But looking to his wife's concerned face, he soon gave her a reassuring smile. You're probably right, Kushina-chan. Nothing is going to happen today as I'm just being overly paranoid. The redhead soon smiled brightly back at this. Good, now come on, Minakuin. Let's go find some seats to watch the match from. Minato chuckled at this. You just save me a seat, okay? I just need to go quickly take care of something before I can sit and watch the matches with you. Okay dear, just bring me back some snacks to eat, alright? I am eating for two, you know, she waved. The elder blonde gave a warm chuckle to this. Okay, Kushina-chan, your usual pickle and peanut butter, right? You know it, she giggled. Minato then smiled and waved to her as his wife soon left to go find a seat for them. Just as they parted ways, he looked back to the circular contraption in his hand. I hope I can get this working soon before anything bad happens. I just hope Kushina-chan was right about this. I've done all I can, said Minato as the watch began ticking again. But this is all I can do. Looking at his study, most of his possessions and his home for the matter had already been sealed off. With this being the case, he was glad he left some secret compartments in his desk with some spare parts. However, I was only able to get Hiration working again. Everything else is beyond my ability to repair right now. Then squeezing the watch in his hands, I better get back soon before Kushina-chan gets too worried. But I better take a look around the village before I head back. But looking about as he stood in his home, a sad expression could not help but grace his features as the truth of this future weighed heavily on his heart. But then he shook his head to this, there's no point in becoming depressed about something that hasn't even happened yet. But then, as he closed his eyes for a moment, time is not always as it appears to be. Now looking out the window towards the entire village of Konoha, he could only let out a soft sigh. Truthfully, he wanted to believe his wife that nothing bad was going to happen on this day. However, it's always been his philosophy to always be prepared for anything and everything life may throw at you. But looking to his watch, he wondered, was it coincidence? Or was it fate that Naruto would bring me here on this day? But then he pushed this thought aside as had some important work to do. So focusing his chakra into the watch, he was gone. Konoha Stadium, Hospital Wing, Tenten watched as Hayashi exited the room seemingly giving off a strange aura as he slowly walked away. What was that about? So going to the room, she peeked inside to see Niji in a somewhat altered state. There was something about him, something about his spirit that seemed to have changed. It almost seemed like he was free for the lack of better words. Could it have been something Hayashi told him? But looking at him, she saw that the Hyuga prodigy was holding a letter as he seemed to have been squeezing it a bit. Niji, are you alright? Niji looked up at this. It's fine now. Everything is fine now. Niji, what happened? What did Hayashi give you? The Hyuga prodigy looked at the letter before looking back at the weapon mistress. My father's last words. I think I need to rethink my life a bit, to which an uncharacteristic calm smile began to form. I guess the first thing I should do is apologize to Hinata-sama for the way I've been behaving, and I should probably thank Naruto for helping me to see clearly after all this time. Niji, as Tenten was speechless at Niji's sudden change in demeanor. Can you help me to the stands? I would like to continue watching the matches for now. Sure, Tenten softly smiled as she gave him her shoulder, helping him to his feet. Thank you, to which they were now on their way. Konoha Stadium, stands, Kushina was still giddy about everything that was going on around her. I can see Shikaku, Inoichi, and Chuza. Wow, they still look pretty well after 14 years. Let's see who else is around. A lot of faces that haven't changed a lot, but I guess it hasn't been that long since my time. She then looked at the VIP area. I guess it makes sense for the Kazekage to be here. But I wonder why Ji-san is sitting where Minato is supposed to be. Minato is probably running an errand somewhere, so Ji-san is probably just filling in for him for now. But then looking around, speaking of which, where is Minato with my pickles and peanut butter? Did you mean me? As Minato and his henge soon appeared next to her with the shriveled cucumber and peanut paste. The redhead's face glowed with awe as she quickly took the items from her husband's hands as she started eating it. Good thing you came back, Minato, the next match was just about to start, she garbled as her mouth was half full. Really? Who's up next? It's that sand kid Gaara against Sasuke Uchiha, to which a worried expression soon appeared. Although I'm worried for Sasuke, he's up against a Jinchuriki of all opponents. I'm not sure if he's going to be up for this. Have a little more faith, Kushina-chan, as Minato tried to reassure his wife. If he is as good as his dad at that age, then he's going to be fine. Kushina gave a chuckle to this. You're probably right. I'm probably just worrying for nothing. But then a smirk graced her features as she thought to the young Uchiha. But if he was lucky, he would have grown up to resemble Mikoto more, as let's face it, she was the real looks of the family, to which Kushina snickered too. But now that I think about it, as she looked around, I don't see Mikoto or Fugaku anywhere in the crowd. Minato simply shrugged at this. Knowing Fugaku-san, he's probably busy with something else. But I'm pretty sure Mikoto-san or Itachi-san should be around here somewhere. Oh yeah. Itachi, as the redhead suddenly recalled the elder son. He ought to be Jonin by now. Fugaku was always going on about how much a prodigy he was. But I wonder where he is. We'll ask Naruto when we get the chance. Let's just watch the matches for now. However, that would not be the exact case. Although Gaara was present, Sasuke was nowhere to be found. As time began to pass, the crowd started to get impatient. Hey! What the hell is the holdup down there? We want to see the next match. Bring out the Uchiha. Normally, under the regular conditions, Sasuke would have been disqualified. But considering he was the main attraction for most of the spectators attending, an exception was made in his stead. Even Hiruzen had to agree to this, for the last thing he wanted on his hands was a riot to which his ninjas would be forced to deal with. So after a quick contemplation, Sasuke's match was postponed. Unbelievable, thought Genma. I can't believe how much leeway that Uchiha brat gets, to which he gave a sigh too. Alright. Let's have the next combatants up. Kankuro cringed at this. I can't afford to allow myself to be worn out. I need to conserve myself in order to ensure the plan succeeds, to which he immediately raised his hand. I surrender. At hearing this, everyone was both shocked and outraged at this. What the hell? Why did he surrender? Did he suddenly get cold feet? That's strange. Why did he give up like that, wondered Kushina. Minato could only shrug at this. Who knows, he probably had a good reason to why he had to withdraw. That's kind of lucky, then said Sakura. You get to ascend without a fight, or is that a bad thing, as she thought about how this tournament worked. Shino remained silent at this, as he was somewhat disappointed he didn't have his chance to fight. Hey, what just happened? Everyone turned to see Naruto and Hinata return, looking slightly confused at what had just happened moments ago. That Kankuro guy just gave up without a fight, said Shikamaru in a kind of bored tone. But if you ask me, he did the most sensible thing and not get involved with something as troublesome as this tournament. By the way, you two just left to the hospital wing, right? Asked Sakura. Everything's was okay, right? Nothing wrong with Niji. Hinata looked to her before a fond smile began to form as she gave a nod. Yes, everything is okay now. Naruto could only smirk to this. On their way back, the pair decided to cross by the hospital wing to see how the Hyuga prodigy was doing. But at seeing Hayashi exiting the room and Tenten going in, the pair decided it was best to wait outside. Unintentionally, as they stood by the door, they heard everything Niji had to say. So believing it was for the best, they then left, leaving them be for now. Since that Kankuro guy gave up, I guess it's Shikamaru's turn to fight. Right on cue, Genma announced their entrance. The next match. Temari and Shikamaru, to which many murmurs went about, still questioning what had just happened moments ago. But to say the least, no one was happy about this match, as everyone was still peeved that they had to wait for Sasuke's match with Gaara and the recent forfeit of Kankuro against Shino. Temari gritted her teeth at this. It's still too early for the plan to enact. I need to buy more time. But as she looked to her scrawny opponent, the dirty blonde could only smirk to this. My opponent is just a weakling. I can handle him easily without losing too much power. I just need to draw it out for as long as I can. With that end thought, she jumped to the arena grounds below. Shikamaru's eyes could only narrow at how irked he was. Why do I have to end up fighting a girl again? Maybe I should just give up. This is far too troublesome for me to deal with. Come on, Shikamaru, get in there. You got Konoha's pride to defend, as Naruto slapped him in the back, which caused the shadow ninja to fly over the guard rail, to which he was forced to slow his descent by chakra sticking to the wall. But finally getting close enough to the ground, he let go, as he was now looking up from the ground with a peeved expression on his face. Damn Naruto. I don't see what everyone is complaining about, said Kushina. Shikaku was a smart guy, like father like son, right? I would expect this to be a good match. Minato gave a nod to this as he continued to watch. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the stands, another round of betting went about. Even though no one thought much about this fight, it didn't stop them from wagering money on it. By the odds, the majority was in Temari's favor. I don't know, said Kiba. Who should I bet on this time, as he thought between the girl from Sand and his friend from the academy. That Temari chick was brutal during the prelims, as she was pretty thorough, is showing how tough she was. Plus she seems like the angry type. Everything on Shikamaru, announced Ino as she handed away her pile of money. Why? He looks like he's going to get his butt handed to him out there. Just trust me, said Ino as she waved her finger at him while giving a wink. As lazy as Shikamaru is, he's a very smart guy who's always able to come up with an airtight plan. But if not, as she gave a smirk. It's always good to bet on the long shots. Nah, I still think it would be better to bet on Temari just to be safe. Now in the arena below Genma, seeing as both his participants were on the battlefield, he immediately waved his hand for them to commence. Let the match begin, to which he cleared the field. Shikamaru, who was still lying on the ground, looked to see Temari unfolding her giant fan ready to swing it at him. Ah, this is going to be pain, to which a giant gust storm was shot dusting the area, which shook the arena slightly. Don't tell me I defeated him already, thought Temari as she tried to peer through the dust. Well, I can't have a guy losing to a girl. That would be too disgraceful. I guess I might actually have to do something. As the dirty blonde looked, the shadow ninja impaled the wall with 2 kunais as he was standing on top of them. TSK, you cocky bastard. Come on, do we have to do this? Asked Shikamaru back in his bored tone. Honestly, I'd rather not bother with this, as a lot of inconvenient things could happen, like getting hurt and stuff. Enough talk, as Temari was slightly getting irritated believing her opponent was looking down on her. Get out here and fight, as she charged in with her fan swinging it like a club. To this statement Shikamaru could only sigh, to which he dodged. Punk is good at running away. Due to the lack of action, people from the stands began booing as they began throwing whatever they had on hand at them in show of detest for what they were seeing. Tough crowd, said Kushina. Well, he's definitely like his dad, said Minato. Funny enough, it's almost exactly what happened with Shikaku during his Chunin final. Now in the participants area, come on Shikamaru, cheered Naruto. Get in there and give it the old one too. Go Shikamaru-kun, as Hinata cheered alongside her blonde friend. This is just disappointing, said Sakura as her face sagged a bit while sitting back down in her seat. I was kind of expecting a bit more. Don't underestimate him, said Chuji, which caused the pink kunoichi to look at him. Shikamaru will definitely put up a good fight up to the very end. But eventually he'll just give up. Huh. Then what's the point? The husky ninja just continued to eat his chips. Just watch, you'll understand. Now back on the arena ground, Temari looked even more peeved as Shikamaru at this time was sitting in the shade, as apparently he was eating a dango one of the spectators had threw into the arena. Is that little sh*t just taking me lightly, or does he really have that much skill not to be worried? What can he be thinking right now? Such wonderful clouds, as the shadow ninja looked to the skies. So simple and serene in the sky above. How I wish I could be a cloud, they don't have a care in the world, to which he gave a sigh too. I only became a ninja because I thought it would be interesting, but it only brought more trouble than it was worth. Why can't life ever be simple, as he now started to daydream a bit. All I really want in the end is a simple life. When I grow up I just want a wife, not too ugly, not too beautiful. Have 2 kids, 1 girl and 1 boy. When I grow old, I just want to play Shugi all day. But looking at his opponent glaring at him, I guess I have to deal with this now. Although I can't have a guy losing to a girl, it isn't right for a guy to be hitting one either. Damn, this is going to be troublesome, as he threw the skewer stick aside. So getting fed up with waiting, Temari launched another one of her attacks. Ninpu, Kamaitashi, as many blades of wind began to fly at her opponent, cutting up everything in its path. At seeing this, the shadow ninja took refuge behind a tree, taking cover. Up in the stands, people braced themselves at feeling the intense gust of wind. This is the same technique which defeated me, thought Tenten as she tried to keep her eyes open. Niji narrowed his vision as he tried to remain focused at what was happening down below. Did I get him? Thought Temari as all she could see was a dust cloud. But then out from the cloud came a streak of darkness that shot out right at her. That's technique. Temari knew exactly what she was up against as she remembered this technique from a month ago. In her understanding, Shikamaru would use his chakra to bend his shadow to any shape or form to which if it came into contact with an enemy's shadow that would give him instant control over them. With that being the case, she was forced to retreat as she began jumping back. But then after a few meters the shadow began to shrink then slowly recede back. At seeing Shikamaru grimace at this, she gave a smirk. Looks like there is a limit to your shadow technique. For as much as you can change and stretch your shadow, it still all has to be relative to the surface area of your shadow, isn't it? Shikamaru could only scoff at this. Yeah, that's right. At that confirmation, Temari gave an arrogant smirk as she quickly jotted down in her head the relative calculations of distance where she could effectively attack without receiving any kind of challenge. At seeing what he had to work with, Shikamaru scanned the battlefield, seeing the many kunais that littered the ground from the match earlier as well as some garbage. Then looking to the sky above, he soon closed his eyes as he pressed the tips of his fingers against each other in some kind of weird pose which immediately got the crowd talking. What is he doing? Is this some kind of jutsu? What can that kid be up to? Could this be some kind of special jutsu? Asked Kurenai as she watched from the stands. Asuma, who was sitting next to her, smirked at this. It's a bit of a habit of his. Huh. For you see, he's actually a patient thinker. That's why he enjoys games like Shugi like an old geezer. For when he's backed into the corner he always gets into that pose, which caused Kurenai to look to him to further explain, it's a sign that he's coming up with a strategy. Due to this I've never won a game against him. Not even once. As Kurenai was about to refute this, Asuma could only smirk as Shikamaru was a diamond in the rough as. He would then go on to explain at how much of a super genius he was. Wow, just like Shikaku's match, as Minato gave a strained laugh. Now this is where things get good, said Kushina. Back on the arena grounds Shikamaru gave a smirk. Plan complete. So looking about he took out several kunais with attached explosive tags as he quickly began preparing them. I won't give you the time to use those. Kamaitashi, as another wave of wind went soaring through to which Shikamaru immediately took cover. But after that attack he quickly responded with his Kagemain, to which Temari was confident it would not reach her. But seeing it was uncomfortably getting close, she then jumped back as it quickly dawned upon her how it happened. You're using time, aren't you? The more time passes the bigger the stadium shadow gets, which furthers your reach. Heh, as Shikamaru looked plainly to her. I better end this soon. The more time passes the more room I lose. I can't afford to wait. Strangely, Temari was getting a bit too carried away with this battle. Although it shouldn't have mattered if she won or lost in relation to the plan, she now viewed Shikamaru as a rather competent intellect or someone rather irritating to which her pride was on the line. If that was case, this was a battle she didn't want to lose. As this was going on, everyone's opinion began to change about this battle. At first it started with two no-name ninjas who no one had any interest in. Yet after this exchange everyone couldn't remove their eyes from this intricate game of cat and mouse that was going on. Wow, this is intense. I should have probably bet on that Nara kid. Yeah. Keep going. This is awesome, said Kushina with glee in her voice. I can't wait to see more. Calm down, Kushina-chan, or you're going to miss it, said Minato. Because I have a feeling that the climax is coming soon. Incredible, Shikamaru isn't as lame as I thought he was, said Sakura. As the match went, Chuji's eating reflected the intensity of the match as he too knew it was going to end soon. Now back on the arena grounds, Shikamaru calmly laid his back on the tree as he looked to the sky. It's about time now. So quickly going out he threw out all his explosive tags as they flew out, exploding on contact with the solid ground surface. Is this some sort of distraction? I won't allow it, as Temari blew the dust away with a swing of her fan. However, it still casted a shadow on the ground, to which the shadow ninja took advantage of as his Kagemain began to stretch over it, trying to catch her. However, she was very agile as she easily dodged the shadow as she backed up. But after a few minutes of running the dust cloud had dissipated, to which Shikamaru could no longer hold the technique as his shadow was forced to recede back. "I'm going to end this now," as the dirty blonde was getting infuriated at how much trouble she was having. So looking at her current position, she opened her fan as she slammed it into the ground, covering Shikamaru's view of her. "I'll just use a Bushin no Jutsu. Once he captures the clone in his shadow, I'll just jump out and finish this in one move." So peeking out past her fan, she saw that Shikamaru was waiting in the shade for her to make the next move. "It's time now," as she began weaving her hand seals. But only getting halfway though, her body stalled as a strange feeling came over her. "It can't be. Kage main no Jutsu, success," smirked Shikamaru as he started to stand up, to which Temari had no choice but to mimic. Then walking out to the middle of the arena, they both were now face to face with each other. The dirty blonde could only grimace at this. How did you catch me?" "There was no way you could have," as she continued to try and struggle. "Let's look to the left, shall we?" To which they both turned their heads to see a long line of shadows being stretched along the shadows of a bunch of standing up kunais. "But how?" "That's simple," explained Shikamaru. "I first needed to bide my time for the sun to get into position. But for everything to come into place, that's where you came into it," as he took a breath. For Naruto and Neji really did a good job at littering the field with kunais, with some help from the audience too. So when the time was right, I used several explosive tags to launch many of them up, and anticipating your next move, your wind attack along with this stadium's architecture created a perfect vacuum effect, which not only sent the kunais up but stalled them for a while before coming down. While I kept you busy running around, I let gravity take over, as naturally the kunai's sharp end was heavier, making it land first, impaling them into the ground. Then was the matter of timing, which was right on, as you hid yourself behind the fan, not noticing what was going on around you, as I expected your focus to be completely concentrated on your plan to get me. So using each kunai's individual shadow, I could have caught you no matter where you were in the arena. But truthfully, if this plan didn't pan out, I at least had 10 other moves I could have made as alternatives to this one in order to catch you." Temari cringed at this, as she had now realized that she had completely underestimated her opponent. "Well, let's end this then," as he began raising his hand, which caused Temari to close her eyes in anticipation to the beating she was going to get. At this incredible climax, everyone was at the edge of their seat to see what was going to happen next. "Oh my God," said Kushina. "What is he going to do? If he's anything like his dad," then said Minato. "I'm pretty sure we both know how this is going to end." "Told you to bet on the long shots," said Ino as she gripped her fist in excitement. "Ah man, I'm going to be completely broke now," said Kiba. "I can't believe it. He is actually going to win this," said Sakura excitedly. Chuji began to eat his chips more ferociously, as things were about to come to an end soon. Now on the arena grounds, Shikamaru had his eyes closed in thought before reopening them, looking to his blonde opponent, still shivering as she tried to escape the bind she was in. So taking in one deep breath, "I surrender." Temari's eyes immediately snapped open at this. What is the meaning of this? To which was the same question on everyone's mind in the stadium. Why did he give up? He was so close to winning. This was a rather unusual outcome. "Yoshino is definitely going to have a field day about this," sighed Shikaku, as all he could do was hold his face to this. "Well, your son did put up a good match," as Inoichi patted his friend on the back. "This was a strange case of déjà vu, as this was the same exact way you did your match," said Chuza as he gave a light laugh. "Well, I guess I shouldn't have expected anything better than this," said Kushina as her tone reflected slight disappointment. "That's the men of Nara," half-chuckled Minato. "Unbelievable," gaped Ino as she couldn't believe what had just happened. "So close. He was so close." "Ha, I knew I bet on the right person," said Kiba. "I figured something like this was going to happen." The light blonde looked peeved at this as she gave a slight glare at the dog ninja. It wasn't fair. Shikamaru had her on the ropes. He should have won this. Well, I guess you don't know your teammate as well as you think you do. Hey. I want a refund. This wasn't a fair bet, as Ino was now very close to getting violent with the bookie. Whoa, wait. You're going to get us kicked out of here. Now in the participants area, see, I told you, said Chuji. Shikamaru was going to give up in the end. But it was such a disappointment. He had her beat and everything, said Sakura. But you had to admit it was a great match to watch, smiled Naruto as he folded his arms behind his head. It was still such a shame to see him lose like this. He may have lost the fight, Sakura-san, calmly smiled Hinata, but in the greater picture, he was the one who actually won. Now back on the arena grounds, why? Is this some sort of pity? Half-growled Temari, slightly angered that her victory felt so hollow. Wasn't worth my trouble, Shikamaru plainly stated. Besides, in the end I wouldn't have been able to continue with this tournament anyways. With the way things were, I would have only been able to hold you for an additional 3 minutes till I was completely tapped. So with that, I'm satisfied with this conclusion, to which he released his shadow bind and soon walked away. Temari squeezed her fist at this as she shut her eyes in slight shame to how things turned out. Genma could only smirk at this. Funny kid, although he lost the battle he still won the war. Although he did lose, he carefully planned out everything, taking into consideration the pros and cons of the situation. When it comes to leading a team, these are the things a leader needs to take into consideration. The qualities that make a good captain, a good chunin, but getting back on track, the winner is Temari, to which the crowd gave a cheer too. So after the field was quickly cleaned up and everything was revving to go again, Genma called in the next participants. The next match. Chuji vs Hinata. The husky ninja gulped down the last of what he was eating as he turned towards Hinata. Let's have a good match. Yes, of course Chuji-kun, Hinata responded. With that response, Chuji jumped to the arena below. Just as the Hyuga heiress was about to follow suit, she felt a firm grasp on her hand, to which she looked back. Naruto-kun. Do your best, Hinata-chan. You'll be great out there, Naruto smirked. Show everyone just how much stronger you've gotten. Hinata gave a happy nod to this. I'll give it everything I have and I won't give up till the very end, as that's my ninja way. The blonde Jinchuriki gave a nod to this as soon she too jumped to the arena down below, as she was now face to face against Chuji. As they faced off against each other, both ninjas were well aware of what they were up against. However, what they didn't know was that both of them had an ace in the hole. Like Hinata, Chuji too was working on developing his own technique, a technique that has been passed down through his clan for many generations, which is considered the epitome of his multi-size technique. For both of them, if push came to shove, then they were not scared to reveal their trump cards when the time truly demanded that they used it. While Hinata and Chuji maintained their focus on each other, Genma then looked between them as he raised his hand in commencement for their battle. Now let the match begin.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.